Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Emma, and I'm so excited you're here. Did you know that communication is like a superpower? Being able to express yourself clearly and truly understand others can unlock amazing opportunities in every area of your life. And guess what? We're going to be working on leveling up your communication superpower today, specifically focusing on your English speaking and listening skills. In this video, we're going to explore some really practical and effective techniques you can start using right away to become a more confident and fluent English speaker, as well as a more attentive and perceptive listener. We'll be covering everything from pronunciation tips and vocabulary building to active listening strategies and how to handle those tricky everyday conversations. Now, I know that improving your English can sometimes feel like a challenging journey, maybe even a bit intimidating. But trust me, it doesn't have to be. We're going to keep things fun, engaging, and easy to follow. I'll be sharing simple exercises, helpful examples, and even a few fun stories along the way to make the learning process as enjoyable as possible. This video is perfect for you whether you're just starting out on your English learning adventure, or if you're already pretty fluent and just looking to polish your skills even further. By the end of this video, you'll have some fantastic new tools in your communication toolkit, ready to use in real-world situations. And for those of you who stick around until the very end, I've got a special bonus tip on how to overcome the fear of speaking English in public. It's a game changer, I promise. So, are you ready to boost your English speaking and listening skills and unlock your communication superpower? Let's dive right in. The fluorescent lights hummed a gentle, almost hypnotic tune above me, reflecting off the rows of glass tanks. The air, thick with the mingled scents of fish food, damp gravel, and something vaguely, sweetly rodent-like, filled my lungs. I inhaled deeply, a thoughtful frown creasing my brow. This was it. Operation. Find the perfect hamster. My younger sister, Lily, bounced on the balls of her feet beside me, her bright pink trainers squeaking against the polished floor. Her enthusiasm was palpable, a buzzing energy that contrasted sharply with my more contemplative approach. Lily, at the ripe old age of 8, had been promised a hamster for her birthday, and today was the day. Our father, trailing behind us with a slightly bewildered expression, looked as if he'd rather be anywhere but surrounded by chirping crickets and squawking parrots. "This is amazing," Lily exclaimed, her eyes wide as saucers as she peered into a tank teeming with brightly colored fish. "Look, Daddy. That one's purple." Dad, bless his soul, squinted at the indicated fish. "Lilac, I believe, sweetheart. A very pretty shade of lilac." I smiled, watching their interaction. Dad wasn't an animal person, not in the slightest. He preferred the ordered predictability of his stamp collection to the messy, unpredictable reality of living creatures. But for Lily, he would brave even the most cacophonous pet store. My focus, however, remained on the hamsters. We'd discussed the responsibilities of pet ownership extensively with Lily, emphasizing the importance of daily care, cleaning, and providing fresh food and water. Lily, in her typical exuberant fashion, had readily agreed to everything. I, however, remained cautiously optimistic. It was, after all, I who would ultimately end up shouldering the majority of the hamster-related chores. We finally located the hamster enclosure, a large, multi-tiered structure housing a dozen or so fluffy little rodents. They scurried through tubes, burrowed into wood shavings, and spun diligently in their wheels. A mesmerizing display of hamster activity. Lily gasped, pressing her face against the glass. "They're so cute," she whispered, her breath fogging the glass. "Which one should we get, Amelia?" That was the million-dollar question. I wanted a hamster that seemed relatively calm, perhaps a little less energetic than some of the whirling dervishes currently on display. I scanned the enclosure carefully, my eyes searching for a potential candidate. One little hamster, tucked away in a corner, caught my attention. It was a creamy white color with soft, gray markings around its eyes, and it seemed to be observing the frantic activity of its caged mates with a sort of detached amusement. "What about that one?" I pointed. Lily followed my finger. "The sleepy one?" "He doesn't look sleepy, Lily," I corrected gently. "He looks thoughtful." Dad chuckled. "Thoughtful? Amelia, you're attributing human characteristics to a rodent." "Well, he does," I insisted. "He's just observant. I think he'd be a good fit for us." A young woman with bright pink hair and a name tag that read, Chloe, approached us. "Can I help you folks find a furry friend today?" she asked, her voice cheerful. "We're interested in that little white hamster," I said, pointing again. Chloe peered into the enclosure. "Ah, Winston. He's a sweetheart. A bit of a loner, but very gentle." That sealed the deal. Winston it was. Chloe expertly retrieved Winston from his enclosure and placed him gently in Lily's cupped hands. Lily's eyes shone with delight. "Hello, Winston," she whispered. Speaking practice. Practice speaking this sentence aloud, paying attention to intonation and clarity. "He doesn't look sleepy, Lily," I corrected gently. "He looks thoughtful." As we walked towards the checkout counter, arms laden with the cage, bedding, food, and a shiny new exercise wheel, I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment. Operation Find the Perfect Hamster had been a success. And, as I glanced back at Winston, nestled securely in his temporary travel box, I couldn't shake the feeling that he looked, well, thoughtful. Perhaps Dad was wrong. Perhaps a hamster could, indeed, be thoughtful. Vocabulary explanation. Palpable. So intense as to seem almost tangible. Example. The excitement in the room was palpable. Cacophonous. Involving or producing a harsh, discordant mixture of sounds. Example. The cacophonous squawking of the birds made it difficult to hear. The car ride home was filled with Lily's excited chatter, punctuated by the occasional rustle of Winston exploring his travel box. Dad, seemingly resigned to his fate as a hamster chauffeur, hummed along to the radio. I watched the scenery pass by, lost in thought. I wondered what Winston was thinking, what he made of this sudden change in his life. It was a silly thought, I knew, but the idea of a thoughtful hamster had taken root in my mind. Arriving home, we set about preparing Winston's new abode. Lily, with my guidance, carefully spread the bedding, filled the food bowl, and attached the water bottle. Finally, we gently placed Winston in his new cage. He explored cautiously, sniffing at the corners, testing the wheel with a tentative paw. That evening, after Lily had gone to bed, I sat by Winston's cage, watching him. He was busy rearranging the wood shavings in his nest, meticulously pushing and pulling them into place. It was a simple act, yet there was a certain purposeful quality to his movements. He paused, looked directly at me with his bright, black eyes, and then continued his work. I couldn't help but smile. Perhaps there was more to Winston than met the eye. Perhaps, just perhaps, he was indeed a thoughtful hamster. And in that thoughtfulness, I found a strange, unexpected connection.